I was really excited to add this new factory to my roster. But then I get an email from the rep that says, our boy just told me that DHL picked up your package, so here's the tracking information. Dude, did she just say boy? Like as in a boy, a child? I panicked. Hey there, I'm Heather Harris. Welcome if you're new here. I'm the founder of Copper Bottom Design Co., a boutique product development agency that not only designs stationery products, but specializes in getting them manufactured overseas. Several years ago, I was testing out a new-to-me factory in China. I had worked with the sales rep in the past when she was at a different company, so we had a solid working relationship. But I needed to vet the quality of craftsmanship at this new factory she was working at. Things were going great. We did several test print jobs. I gave them various specs for different kinds of products, and they tested them for free for me. That's not common. Most sales reps or most factories will charge you. Like I said, I had this solid working relationship with this woman, so she really wanted to win back my business with this new factory she was at. Things were going great. Everything that we tested came out perfect. And I was really excited to add this new factory to my roster. But then I get an email from the rep that says, our boy just told me that DHL picked up your package, so here's the tracking information. Dude, did she just say boy? Like as in a boy, a child? I panicked. I reread the email a bunch of times and it legit said, our boy. I pride myself on only selecting factories that adhere to ethical practices. I started to sweat, feverishly typed back to her and said, how old is this boy? I knew I wasn't going to hear back from her right away because, the time difference between Massachusetts and China, so I settled in for a sleepless night. Luckily, my brother-in-law used to live in Shanghai. He lived there for about 20 years. He owned an art gallery, employed many Chinese workers, is fluent in the language, and so I tossed him a text. He was able to reassure me that the word boy actually means young man in Chinese, but the direct translation between Chinese and English just comes out to be boy rather than young man. I was mildly reassured, but you hear so many horror stories about sweatshops and child labor all over the place in factories in China. So how are you really supposed to know? I needed hard proof that told me this new manufacturer was operating in accordance to ethical practices and the same high standards we have here in the United States. You can bet your bottom dollar that I am vetting these manufacturers that I work with and have learned many things over the years since this little incident about a boy. But how the heck do you find out that information on a business that's half a world away? So how do you know that a factory is working in accordance to our ethical standards and practices? You ask them for proof. And there's two things that you can ask them for. One option is a SMETA audit. And I'm going to read here because this is like technical stuff that I won't get right if I just wing it. So SMETA stands for SEDEX Members Ethical Trade Audit. And it was created by the SEDEX organization. Here's information directly from the SEDEX website. They say SMETA is the world's most widely used audit. Businesses use SMETA to understand and make improvements to working conditions and environmental performance in their business's supply chain. SMETA is an audit which helps you understand standards of labor, health and safety, environmental performance, and ethics at a supplier's site. They go on to say that these audits are designed to help protect workers from unsafe conditions, overwork, discrimination, low pay, and forced labor. Exactly what we want to know. So you can simply ask your factory if they have a SMETA audit report that they can send to you. They'll happily send it if they have it, if they got good marks, and you can review it for yourself to see if you align with their ethical practices for the scores in the audit. Another option is to ask for an SA8000 certificate. Again, gonna read my notes. The SA8000 Standard Certificate stands for Social Accountability 8000. So that's where you get the SA, Social Accountability. Not really sure where the 8000 comes from. Here's information directly from the SAI International website, which stands for Social Accountability International. SA8000 applies a management system approach to social performance and emphasizes continual improvement, not a checklist-style audit. Their elements of standard include child labor, forced or compulsory labor, health and safety, freedom of association, discrimination, disciplinary practices, working hours, compensation, and management systems. They go on to say that management systems, worker engagement, a culture of continuous improvement, and other elements of the SA8000 not only lead to better working conditions and worker well-being, but they also have benefits for productivity, stakeholder relationships, market access, and more. Again, you can simply ask the factory that you're vetting or looking to work for or are currently working with if they have an SA8000 Standard Certificate. If they do, this alone will tell you if the factory meets the international recognized standards of decent work. So what's the difference between the SMETA and the SA8000? Again, reading from my notes, bear with me. SA8000 is an international, non-government organization which aims to advance human rights at work. It was originated in the United States in 1997. It's a certification type of audit in which a certificate is granted once an organization passes the audit. It typically takes about 2 to 3 months to perform the audit, and it can cost thousands of dollars, but it's worth it for the factory to get this if it's going to bring them in more business internationally. Certificates are valid for 3 years and are subject to twice yearly visits. One would be an announced visit and one would be an unannounced visit where they check up on the factory to make sure they're still adhering to the ethical standards and practices that they once adhered to when they were certified. SMETA, on the other hand, is an audit procedure created by the membership organization SEDEX. It was established in the UK in 2004. SMETA, unlike the SA8000, is an audit report. It doesn't indicate whether you've passed or failed. And it also doesn't have a certification. The time frame for SMETA is similar. It takes 2 to 3 months to finish the audit, and the cost is in the thousands, but it's generally lower than the SA8000. A SMETA report doesn't have an expiration date, and there's no rule on how often sites should accept social audits. However, SEDEX members conduct an audit cycle depending on the risk factors involved. If a factory is at a high risk, they're subject to yearly audits. A medium risk factory gets audited every 3 years, and a low risk factory, it kind of depends on how often customers are asking for an audit for that particular factory. So they're kind of vague on that information on their website. Both the SA8000 and SMETA cover important areas of social compliance where risks are high for human rights. These are labor standards and health and safety standards. So for example, child labor is one of the most common malpractices of manufacturers. Because of this, companies are required to create a recruitment process and establish a child labor policy that ensures no children are in the working area. SMETA also covers environmental standards and business ethics, where SA8000 does not. Asking suppliers for these audits demonstrates your commitment towards social responsibility, strengthening your brand image, and opening yourself up to bigger business opportunities. For example, if you want to sell your products in a large store, like Container Store, for example, they will ask you for an SA8000 certificate. I know firsthand, I have a client that sells their products in the Container Store, and they have requested that certificate from us before they place orders. At Copper Bottom, we only work with manufacturers that have an SA8000 certificate. If they have a SMETA audit report as well, we'll happily take that too. My production manager keeps all of these reports and certificates on record. She tracks the expiration dates and can follow up accordingly with the manufacturers when their expiration date is coming due, so that we make sure we always have a current record or report on file. So if you're currently working with a factory overseas or thinking about it, ask them for one of these reports today. I mean, it's all you have to do is ask, and if businesses have it, they will happily send it to you. Oh, and if you're wondering about that boy from my story in the beginning, he was 22, and my sales rep had a good laugh at my question to her. But she quickly followed up with her SA8000 report, and we are still doing business to this day. She's one of my favorites. So hopefully I've reassured you that it's okay to work with manufacturers in China. It's safe. I know, you hear the rumors, but it's not all sweatshops and child labor, I promise. But if you're still on the fence about the pros and cons of working with manufacturers in China versus the US, check out one of my recent videos I'll put up here. This one will definitely tug on the purse strings. See you next time.